As you know, on 24th of February, Russian troops invaded Ukraine. More than 3 months have passed since the beginning of the war, and the situation is quite difficult and is changing rapidly. So I will try to focus only on the key point. The war began with a large-scale invasion of troops along the entire perimeter of the border with Russia and on part of the border with Belarus. By mid-March, Russian troops had gone deep into Ukrainian territory and stood near Kiev. The insufficient military contingent and the underestimation of the Ukrainian army led to the fact that not a single large city was captured except for Nikolaev in the south. In the second half of March, early April, a counter-offensive of Ukrainian troops began in the north and northeast, which ended in the complete expulsion of the enemy from these territories. At the moment, the fighting is going on in the east and south of Ukraine. We see two possible scenarios for the future development of the military situation. The first scenario assumes that the war will end by late 2022. Return of territories occupied by Russia under the control of the Ukrainian authorities, peace treaty. In this scenario, we expect a deep economic fall this year and first economic recovery to the pre-war level within 5 years. Most of labor force that left Ukraine will return, and we expect investments in infrastructure and massive foreign financial assistance. The second scenario is prolonged war. No strategic benefits in the war for both sides. Transition of the war into a protracted phase, long-term occupation of the eastern and southern regions of Ukraine, with the possible annexation by Russia, no peace treaty or quasi-peace treaty, and possible attempts to create new pockets of instability within Ukraine. In this scenario, we expect a deep economic recession within 1 to 2 years and economic stagnation in the long term. Most of labor force will be, which left Ukraine, will be lost by Ukraine. Also, hyperinflation, a huge currency devaluation is expected. In the first scenario, the naval blockade will be till the end of the war, and maritime exports starts after opening of ports in within 1 or 2 years. In the second scenario, naval blockade will persist in more long-term period. Both scenarios are equally likely. We don't consider the scenario of occupation of all or most of the territory of Ukraine because it's low probable in current situation. Ukrainian GDP fall by 16% in first quarter, and it is expected that it fall by from 30 to 45% this year, according to various forecasts. The war began with large-scale. The war began with hostilities in 10 regions and near Kiev. These regions accounted for 55% of GDP in the past, and in April, hostilities took part only in 6 regions, which accounted for 20% of GDP in the past. In April, completely ceased operations. Only 17% of firms compared to 32% of firms in March. However, 60% of enterprises operate below pre-war levels. Among industries, a rather difficult situation persists in construction and the extraction of raw materials. Many industries operating below pre-war level. In addition to disrupted logistics and loss of markets, work is limited because of curfew, blocked ports, deterioration of payment discipline, occupied and or destroyed capacities, and closed registers. Small and medium enterprises return to work, but recover more slowly than big business, and they try to reduce costs, including labor costs. According to surveys, only one third of companies have not laid off staff or even recruited, and 2/3 of companies cut staff or didn't work at all. Massive flow of refugees partially reduces the labor market pressure. About 6.6 million people left Ukraine to go abroad, mainly to the EU countries. Some part of these people, about 2 million of people, have returned home. Much foreign trade fell more than 2 times, both due to hostilities and production shutdowns, and due to the closure of seaports. The largest reduction was observed in imports. According to preliminary estimations, as of mid-May, direct losses of the Ukrainian economy from damage of physical infrastructure since the beginning of the war is amounted of about $97 billion, or about half of annual GDP. The overall losses of Ukrainian economy, direct and indirect, are estimated in up to 600 billion of dollars. Since the outbreak of hostilities, domestic and foreign creditors have financed the budget of Ukraine for $12 billion, most of which came from the National Bank and war bonds. The Ministry of Finance estimates that the war requires $5 billion in monthly budget funding. The most significant source of financial assistance to Ukraine is expected additional Ukrainian Supplemental Appropriations Act signed by US President, which is amounted of about $40 billion. G7 countries assistance with amount of about $20 billion, and macro financial assistance from European Union of amount with amount of about 9 billion euros. In March, metallurgical production in Ukraine collapsed. Crude steel and iron production fell by 89%. Coke production fell by 81%. As of mid-May, only 2 out of 10 plants producing crude steel are in operation. Only 4 from 6 plants producing hot metal, and only 5 out of 8 plants producing coke. Most plants did not produce crude steel in March, April, but some of them currently begin to start the blast furnace and rolling mills. ArcelorMittal currently operates with coke shop and 1 blast furnace, another blast furnace, as well as wire mill. We're expected to be restarted in May, but it looks like this restart will be postponed for the future. Dniprovsky metallurgical plant also operates with at coke shop and 1 blast furnace and some rolling mills. Currently, the plant does not produce steel and rerolls merchant billet at blooms. Regarding Metinvest assets, I will say some words later. Currently, about 40% of the pre-war capacity of the Ukraine is under occupation or in close proximity to the combat area. As a result of this, under the greatest risk are such products as merchant slabs, plate, which produced at reversing mills, large significant part of large sections, rails and rail fastenings, and also large diameter gradient poles. Domestic steel demand also collapsed in March. Apparent steel consumption decreased almost even more than 10 times compared to the monthly average level of 2021. In April, consumption was high on a monthly basis, but still far from the pre-war level. In March, export of metal products fell by more than 6 times compared to the average level of 2021. More than 80% of metal products were exported through seaports, and naval blockade is a key risk for exports. Currently, Ukraine is looking for alternative ways to export metal products, but the capacity of available infrastructure for export of metal products is estimated at 500 kilotons per month. Currently, only the Danube ports are available for exports, ports Reni and Ismail. They accounted for just 2% of metal exports in previous year. Several ports like Mariupol, Berdyansk, Kherson under occupation. Other ports are closed. So to summarize some issues, the key challenge for Ukrainian steel exporters currently is naval blockade due to inability to enter the ports, the load vessels, risk of shelling of vessels, damage to logistic infrastructure, lack of qualified labor force because of immigration and mobilization of men in the army, competition with exporters of other commodities, especially agricultural products, and lack of basic raw materials. Significant part of metallurgical coal producers, Ukrainian metallurgical coal producers, are located near the combat areas. Some measures will compensate this negative points, but they will have just limited effect. For example, export through seaports of other countries, Poland, Romania, Bulgaria, Baltic countries, the bottlenecking of railroad, railway administration expects that capacity of railway will be expanded to 6.6 million tons of cargo per month, including up to 1.5 of grain. And also compensation measure can be suspension or cancellation some trade measures against steel export from Ukraine to European Union, United Kingdom, United States, Canada, etc. Also, sanctions against Russia creates some possibilities for Ukrainian exporters, but as I said, in taking into account naval blockade, they will be very difficult to capture on this possibilities. Last year, Ukraine produced 21 million of crude steel and exports export is amounted 15.1 million of tons. In the first scenario, we expect that crude steel will increase from 7.6% to 8.3% next year, and export will increase from 4.7 million tons to 5.1 million tons next year. Apparent consumption will increase from 2.4 this year to 3 million tons next year. In the second scenario, we expect that crude steel output will decrease from 6.5 million tons to 6.1 million tons next year, and export decrease from 4.1 to 3.8 million tons. Such export dynamics and other production dynamics is due to statistical effect of first 2 months when the war was not in place. And some words about Metinvest situation and how Metinvest deal with current situation. Facilities in Mariupol and Avdiivka have been affected by hostilities. Currently, Mariupol is under occupation. Avdiivka is near the combat area. It is difficult to assess the situation at Mariupol plants. Kamet Steel currently is operating using 2 blast furnaces following the shutdown of one more blast furnace on a major overhaul. Zaporizhstal also is operating with 2 blast furnaces, and it is expected that it will increase the volume in the summer. Iron ore and coke and coal assets are operating at around 40% and 60% respectively, and the group switched to railway for its exports. Iron ore, coke and coal, and steel products go by rail to the European Union, either directly to customers or to ports in Poland and Romania for further export to other regions. Regarding our abroad assets, which were supplied by Mariupol slabs, Spartan reroller in the UK has secured feedstock from local supplier. Ferreira, Valsidar, and Metinvest Metal rerolling plants in Italy, which originally used in Mariupol slabs, are currently arranging feedstock from third-party suppliers. And the final rerolling asset, Promet Steel, a long product producer in Bulgaria, is maintaining normal operations, and it is self-sufficient with square billet produced by Comet Steel in Ukraine. Thank you for your attention. If you have questions, please ask me.
Murat, maybe you can ask the question. I'm curious about the condition of the Mariupol plant. That plant has been pounded so much. I don't know how much in production form it is in right now.
Let's have the best answer from Roman. He's the expert on it. Roman, thanks very much once again. Really appreciated your participation and presentation. You're able to hear me, right?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks very much once again. The question is about the Mariupol plant. How deep is the problem? How bad is the situation at the Mariupol plant at the moment? How long would you think it would take for that plant to get back into production stages?
As I said, the facilities in Mariupol has been affected by hostilities until the active stage of the Russian military aggression stopped, and reliable communications channels with Mariupol steelmakers are re-established, it is impossible to assess the impact on the plans of these hostilities. When such an assessment becomes possible, Metinvest will provide updates on plans and on plans to resume the operations. Currently, it is very difficult to access not only when they will start operation, but also their current stance of how huge was the damage to these plants, especially to Azovstal.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? Michael, can we have the microphone for Mr. Setardal? Yes.
Thank you, Roman. What is the situation for Promet and Trametal and Valceder? Are they operating from your raw materials?
Promet Steel is maintain normal operations as it is self-sufficient with square billet produced by Comet Steel, which is far from relatively far from military battles in Ukraine, and Comet Steel currently operates at 2 blast furnace and with capacity utilization about 70 to 80%. So Promet Steel doesn't have any problems with square billet. And regarding our flat mills, Spartan Reroller in UK has secured feedstock from local supplier and intra-EU supply of slabs to replace Azovstal slabs. And Ferrari Cider and Metinvest Metal, which originally using Mariupol slabs, currently also arranging feedstock from third-party suppliers, mainly from Chinese and Indonesia suppliers, but also some volumes from intra-EU suppliers. And the plants, Ferrari Cider and Metinvest Metal, have accelerated their scheduled annual maintenance to May and from August, and it is expected that their rolling operations resume in June.
Thank you very much. If there is any, we can have one last question. If not, there's one more question, final one. Thank you, please.
Hello, Maria Blagoeva, Balkan Steel Engineering, Bulgaria. You mentioned that the European Commission has decided to remove safeguards, import taxes from Ukraine to the European Union. Has this taken an official decision already? Is it active? Did they remove the import taxes from Ukraine? Because last week there was nothing official.
This decision was pronounced, and we expect that it will be approved, but it will be just. I think that it will be just for 1 year. But as I said, because of significant logistics problems, especially naval blockade, it will be very difficult to take advantage on this decision, but probably some volumes from Ukraine will be increased, especially in hot rolled coils, taking into account that there was duty of about 60 euros per ton of hot rolled coils. But also we need to say that most of hot rolled coils were supplying last year from Mariupol, as said, MMK Perepelytsia. And currently, if we will supply, if Ukraine will supply some hot rolled coil, it will be from Zaporizhstal, which operates at the OHF shop. You know that some quality difference there is between OHF and BOF HRC. So it also can limit advantage from this decision. So.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Roman. I believe this concludes the session. Once again, thank you very much all the information, Roman, your time and participation, and best wishes from our side, from all of us, for the quickest possible end to the war and health and safety for all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much also.